Welcome to Unisys ClearPath Visual IDE 2.0, OS 2200 Key Features Demo. In this demo, you will be introduced to the OS 2200 features of Unisys ClearPath Visual IDE 2.0. Create an OS 2200 project. Unisys ClearPath Visual IDE provides a predefined OS 2200 project type to create projects in Visual Studio. To create an OS 2200 project, first you will need to connect to an OS 2200 server. Let's see how to connect to an OS 2200 server. Note, as a prerequisite, you need to configure the host connections in Application Integration Services. On the View menu, click OS 2200 Server Explorer. In the OS 2200 Server Explorer window, expand the Host Connections node to view the list of OS 2200 connections available. Right-click the desired connection, and click Connect. In the Login to dialog box, type the user code and password. If you select the Remember My Credentials checkbox, your user code and password is automatically pre-filled the next time you connect to the server. However, the user code is saved when you log in, and is pre-filled the next time even if the checkbox is not selected. Click Login. Unisys ClearPath Visual IDE provides just-in-time login when you try to open a project, or perform any operation which requires you to connect to the OS 2200 server, in scenarios such as if the OS 2200 server is disconnected, or if the network connection is lost. For example, if you select the Remember My Credentials checkbox the last time you logged in, ClearPath Visual IDE does not prompt for you to log in, but automatically connects you to the OS 2200 server. If the connection is still not established, then ClearPath Visual IDE prompts you to either retry or cancel the operation. In case where you do not select the Remember My Credentials checkbox the last time you logged in, ClearPath Visual IDE displays a login window, and if the connection is still not established, it displays a login window all over again where you can cancel the operation from the login window. Once the just-in-time login succeeds, ClearPath Visual IDE connects to the OS 2200 server and completes your operation. Let's see how to create an OS 2200 project. On the File menu, click New, and then click Project. The New Project dialog box appears. In the left pane, expand Installed, and then expand Templates. Under Templates you will see a list of all predefined project types, and then select Unisys ClearPath Visual IDE. In the middle pane, you can see an entry for OS 2200 project. Select OS 2200 project and then enter a name for the new project. Note, the name of the project will become the default name of the output binary, so you may want to use a name that is suitable for a project name, and in this example let's use the default name and select a different location, or use the default one. Enter a name for the solution and click OK. Now the new OS 2200 project is created and is displayed in the Solution Explorer. Add a new source element. Let's see how to add a new OS 2200 source element. Right-click the project in the Solution Explorer window, select Add and then click New Item. The Add New Item dialog box appears displaying a list of OS 2200 element types. The available OS 2200 element types are UCS COBOL Main Program, UCS COBOL Subprogram, UCS COBOL Procedure, UCS eSource, UCS eHeader and ECL. Select a desired element type you want to create. Enter a name for the new element. Then click Browse and select a location to save the element. And click Add. The new OS 2200 source element is created and listed under the project in the Solution Explorer window. Add an existing source element. Let's see how to add an existing OS 2200 source element. Right-click the project in the Solution Explorer window. select Add and then click Existing Item. The Add Existing Item dialog box appears displaying a list of all the OS 2200 host connections. Double-click the host from which you want to add the OS 2200 element. All the available OS 2200 qualifiers on the system are displayed. Browse and locate the OS 2200 element. Note, you can filter the elements by selecting any one of the desired types from the drop-down list. Select the OS 2200 element and then click Add. Note, for symbolic elements, when you select the desired option from the list, Add drop-down list, the element is added as the selected language under the project in the Solution Explorer window. Edit an OS 2200 source element. Unisys ClearPath Visual IDE allows you to edit OS 2200 elements using the UCS COBOL main program, subprogram and procedure, UCSE source and header, and ECL languages. Let's see how to edit an OS 2200 source element. In the Solution Explorer window, double-click the OS 2200 source element under the project. The OS 2200 source element opens in the Visual Studio Code Editor and is ready for edit. COBOL Column Markers. In UCS COBOL Elements, the four gray lines define the sequence area, indicator area, area A and area B on which the syntax component of the UCS COBOL language must be placed. A red line indicates the maximum number of characters in a line of code. Intelligent COBOL Tabbing. For OS 2200 language files, pressing the Tab key either adds the required number of spaces to move to the next indent position based on the Visual Studio tab settings, or moves the caret to the beginning of the next COBOL section. When the caret is at the end of the last COBOL section, pressing the Tab key moves the caret to the start of the next line. To set the Visual Studio tab settings, click the Tools menu, select Options. Under Text Editor, expand all languages, and then select Tabs. Syntax highlighting. ClearPath Visual IDE provides support for highlighting comments, keywords, and literal strings using the Visual Studio fonts and colors. Let's understand the syntax highlighting feature. When you open a supported source file, comments, keywords, literal strings and some excluded text are highlighted using the Visual Studio fonts and colors. As you edit a file, the colors and fonts change automatically. Keywords are highlighted even if the keywords are not used in the context of a keyword, except in comments and literal strings. If the keyword is a part of a comment or literal string, then it appears with the same font and color as the comment or string in which it is present and not as a keyword. For COBOL files, text outside of column 7 to 72 is ignored by the compiler and highlighted as an excluded text. To customize the syntax highlighting, on the Tools menu, select Options, and under Environment, click Fonts and Colors to change the default settings. Save an OS 2200 source element. To save an OS 2200 source element that is in focus, on the File menu, click Save Element Name. Click Save All, to save all the elements, projects, and solution. You can create a copy of the OS 2200 source element you are currently working on, at a specified location in the same host, or on another host. Let's see how to create a copy of the OS 2200 source element on a host. On the File menu, click Save Element Name As. In the Save File As dialog window, browse and select the location where you want to save the element. Type a name in the file name box. In the Save As Type drop-down list, select an element type. Note, by default the current working element type is automatically selected, and click Save to save the file. The save file is not added to the project and will not be opened. The original file will still be open in the editor, and any changes made to the original file will not be saved. configuring build settings for an OS 2200 project. Unisys ClearPath Visual IDE enables you to build your OS 2200 projects. When you create a project, the default build configurations are assigned to the project, and you can edit the default configurations, or create your own configurations. Let's see how to configure the build settings for an OS 2200 project. In the Solution Explorer window, select the project for which you want to configure the build settings. On the View menu, click Property Pages. In the Configuration drop-down list, select the configuration for the project which you wish to configure. The Platform drop-down list displays OS 2200 as the only platform, and note you cannot add other platforms to an OS 2200 project. Click the Build tab. In the Build page, under Build Action, you can select the default build, or the custom build option. Select the default build option. In the Output Object Module name box, specify the name of the executable object module that will be created by the linker when you build the project. By default, the Output Object Module name is the project name. Note, if there is only one UCS COBOL, or UCSC source element in the project, the executable object module is created directly by the compiler, and the linker does not run in this case. In the Output Location box, specify the location where you want to create the executable object module, which will be produced by the linker when you build the project. Note, by default output location is the location of the selected main program. Otherwise, the location of the first source element in the project is used. You can either type the path, or click Browse, to locate and select the path where you want to save these executable object modules. In the Intermediate Location box, specify the location where you want to create the intermediate object modules. Note, the default intermediate location is the location of the source element being compiled. Also, the name of the intermediate object module is the same as the element being compiled, except for the file extension. You can either type the path, or click Browse, to locate and select the path where you want to save the intermediate files. In the Extended drop-down list, select the target machine type you want to run the object modules on. From the Main Program drop-down list, select the main program. You can select one of the COBOL elements from the project as the main program, or none. Note, by default the value is none, unless you have added an element as a UCS COBOL main program. You can select the Display Warning and Remark Messages checkbox, to display any warning messages or remarks. If you select the Custom Build option, in the ECL script box, specify the location of an ECL script. You can either type the path, or click Browse, to locate and select the path. Under Build Options, in the Build Timeout and Seconds box, enter or select the build timeout. The specified build timeout and seconds is used for each individual build task. In the default build, each pre-process, compile, or link is a separate build task. In a custom build, the entire ECL script is executed as a single task, so the build timeout and seconds is used for the entire ECL. Build a solution containing OS 2200 projects. The developer can build a solution containing OS 2200 projects. To build a solution, right-click the solution in the Solution Explorer window, and click Build Solution. The Visual Studio Output window displays the build output messages. After building a solution, if the build is not successful, the Visual Studio Error List window displays errors or warnings. The error list displays the message, file, column, and the project that caused the error. If you double-click an error or warning log in the list, it will navigate to the exact line of code in the editor. This saves a lot of time for the developers as they can easily navigate to the error, and need not search for the error line by line. Running OS 2200 projects. Setting startup projects. Unisys ClearPath Visual IDE allows you to set which OS 2200 project, or projects will run in a multi-project solution. Let's see how to set a single project as a startup project. In the Solution Explorer window, select a desired project. Right-click the project, and click Set as Startup Project. Let's see how to set multiple projects as startup projects. In the Solution Explorer window, select the solution. Right-click the solution, and click Properties. In the Solution Property Pages dialog box, click Startup Project, under Common Properties. Select the Multiple Startup Projects option, and then select Start Without Debugging, from the Action column for each project, and click Apply. Configuring Run Options. Unisys ClearPath Visual IDE allows you to configure what happens when you run an OS 2200 project. Let's see how to configure the run properties for an OS 2200 project. In the Solution Explorer window, select the project for which you want to specify configuration settings. Right-click the project and click Properties. Select the configuration from the configuration list for the project, if required. If the debug page is not currently displayed, select the Debug tab. In the Debug tab Properties, under Start Action, you can select None, Tip or HV Tip Transaction, or open a Telnet Session option. Run an OS 2200 project. Let's see how to run an OS 2200 project, via Tip or HV Tip. On the Debug menu, click Start, or Start Without Debugging. Clicking on Start will prompt a message stating that the debugging is not supported and then runs the transaction. Clicking on Start Without Debugging will just run the transaction. In this example, we have configured the Start Action option to run a Tip or HV Tip transaction. You can run a conversational or a non-conversational Tip or HV Tip transaction for your OS 2200 project. If you have configured the project to run a non-conversational Tip or HV Tip transaction, and cleared the Uses Conversational Link checkbox, then the transaction runs using the settings in the Debug tab of the Project Property Pages, and the transaction output is displayed in the Transaction Tool window. If you have configured the project to run a conversational Tip or HV Tip transaction, and selected the Uses Conversational Link checkbox, then the transaction starts using the settings in the Debug tab of the Project Property Pages, and the input and output of the transaction are displayed in the Transaction Tool window. The Enter Input and Send options are enabled for conversational transaction. In the Tip Transaction Output window, enter the input in the Enter Input box, and then click Send. The input and output of the conversational transaction are displayed in the Transaction Tool window. If you have configured the Start Action option to open a Telnet session, the Telnet Session Tool window appears with the details of the Telnet session that is opened for the server. In the Telnet Session Tool window you can manually run programs, and view the batch mode program display messages, and enter the required input details and view the output details. Alternatively, to open a Telnet session, right-click the project in the Solution Explorer window, and click Open OS 2200 Telnet Session. Source Control for OS 2200. ClearPath Visual IDE supports adding solutions to source control, and managing the individual and team projects easily by using the source control features of Microsoft Visual Studio. While working on a source-controlled file, you must use an independent source file location using the MyUserID variable for all files. You must also use an independent output location using the MyUserID variable. Let's see how to configure source control. To configure the source control environment, you can choose any of the source control tools supported by Visual Studio. In this example we will use Team Foundation Server as source control. Source control tasks terminology may vary from one plugin or tool to another. Refer to the documentation of your plugin or tool for information on the terms for performing source control tasks that are demonstrated in this video. Navigate to the Tools menu, click Options, then expand Source Control, and click Plugin Selection. In the current Source Control plugin list, select the Visual Studio Team Foundation Server Source Control plugin, and click OK. To add a solution to source control from Visual Studio, select the solution on the Solution Explorer window, right-click the solution from the Solution Explorer and then select Add Solution to Source Control. From the Choose Source Control window, choose Team Foundation Version Control, and click OK. From the Add Solution to Source Control window, select the Team Project location, and click OK. The solution is added to source control with the projects and files. An icon appears next to the file names indicating that they are added to source control. To open a solution in Visual Studio from source control, navigate to the File menu, click Open and select Open from Source Control. Click Source Control Explorer from the Team Explorer window. From the Source Control Explorer folder, select the collection that contains your solution, and double-click the solution to open. To update a solution in Visual Studio from Source Control for Team Foundation Server, right-click the solution, and click Get Latest Version. For other source control providers, follow the appropriate steps to get the latest version from source control. After updating the solution, the source files are retrieved and updated on the host. When you want to modify an OS 2200 file, some source control providers require you to check out the file, and some will check it out automatically, or not require checkout. In Solution Explorer or in Source Control Explorer, select the file that you want to edit, right-click and select Checkout for edit. Right-click and select Check-in to update the changes in source control. International Character Support for OS 2200. ClearPath Visual IDE supports international character sets. Gaiji Support for OS 2200. ClearPath Visual IDE supports Gaiji characters. The term Gaiji means any valid character or glyph, which are not represented in the existing Japanese encoding systems. These external characters can be either user-defined characters, or system-specific characters. These characters comprise variant forms of kanji characters as well as non-kanji characters, that are required to be displayed alongside the kanji characters. Unisys offers a comprehensive set of features in ClearPath Visual IDE, to enrich the value of your IDE requirements. Please contact your Unisys representative for more information or visit unisys.com.